The cosmos is all that is, or ever was, or ever will be. So begins a journey not through fiction, but through the deepest truths ever glimpsed by the human mind. From the atoms in your hand to the galaxies millions of light years away, you are connected to it all. You are a child of Earth and of the stars. For thousands of years, we looked up and wondered, saw patterns in the stars, stories in the sky, and eventually, we asked questions bold enough to reach the edge of time itself. This is a story about the universe, but more than that, it is a story about us, our questions, our courage, our place in the great unfolding of existence. This is Cosmos, as told by Carl Sagan. And this is your invitation to remember who you are and what you're made of. Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. We are born into a mystery so vast, so ancient, that the mere act of existing on a pale blue dot seems miraculous. This is the beginning not of science fiction, but of our reality. A tale written in starlight and carried on waves of time. To stand on the shore of the cosmic ocean is to look out into an infinite sea of possibilities, and wonder not just where we are, but who we are. We live on a small world, orbiting an ordinary star, nestled quietly in the outskirts of a galaxy among billions of others. And yet in this quiet corner, something extraordinary has happened. The universe has become aware of itself. We are not mere observers of the cosmos. We are part of it, made of star stuff. Forged in ancient furnaces of long-dead stars, we carry in our bodies the dust of exploded suns. Every atom in our being once traveled across time and space to be here, now thinking, wondering, dreaming. For most of human history, we looked up to the stars with reverence and fear. The heavens were God's, and we, their humble creations. But slowly, through curiosity and courage, we began to ask, what if the lights in the sky are not deities, but places? What if we could know them? Thus began the long journey from myth to knowledge, from firelit stories to telescopes. Cosmos is the story of how we learned to question not just the skies above us, but the beliefs within us. Science is more than a method. It is a posture, a defiant commitment to seek truth, no matter how small we are or how vast the unknown. It is the light that cuts through superstition and reveals the architecture of reality. It humbles us, but also empowers us. Carl Sagan reminds us, to grasp the cosmos, we must first grasp the fragility of our understanding and be willing to challenge it. That humility, coupled with relentless curiosity, is how civilizations grow. We are travelers not just through space, but through time. Each moment we live is built upon billions of years of evolution, chance, and cosmic violence. Dinosaurs, ice ages, mass extinctions, all of it flows into now. And yet the human lifetime is a blink. If the history of the universe were compressed into a calendar year, all of recorded human history would occur in the final seconds of December 31st. That's how brief, how precious our moment truly is. Earth is our cradle, a lonely world wrapped in a thin blanket of atmosphere, surrounded by cold and silence. It is all we have ever known. The more we explore the universe, the more we realize how rare, how fragile, and how beautiful this planet is. We are stewards of a miracle, entrusted with a responsibility far greater than ourselves. Understanding the cosmos begins with caring for the only home we have. There is no true separation between out there and in here. The atoms of your body were born in the cores of stars. The heartbeat of life is in sync with the pulse of the universe. This interconnectedness, the unity of all things, is not just poetic, it's scientific. We are not outsiders looking into a distant universe. We are the universe, reflecting on itself. A cosmic echo, fragment of eternity given eyes to see and ears to hear. We have begun to wade into the cosmic ocean. It's just a few steps from shore. And already, the depth stirs. There will be storms of doubt, of danger, of our own making. But we carry within us the tools to navigate. Reason, empathy, imagination. Cosmos is not distant, it is within. So let us journey further. Not to escape who we are, but to remember it. Because in knowing the stars, we begin to know ourselves. Life did not begin in grandeur. It began in silence. A single voice, whispering across a world of rock and fire. Over billions of years, that whisper became a symphony, a fugue of DNA and instinct, of evolution and emotion. In this chapter, we trace the miraculous rise of life from stardust to song, from silence to awareness. The Earth, once a barren sphere, now sings with life. But this symphony did not begin with us. Long before humans ever opened their eyes to the stars, microbes were crafting the language of biology. Every cell, every gene, is a note in this vast biological melody, a fugular, recursive, evolving. We are not separate from this music. We are one of its verses, a voice among billions, shaped by time and pressure into conscious being. All life is related. It's the oak tree and the eagle, the jellyfish and the giraffe. It's the human and the hummingbird. We are leaves on the same ancient tree. Evolution is not chaos. It is a story of slow, deliberate change. It is nature's algorithm for solving problems coded not in silicon, but in flesh. Through mutation and selection, life adapts, survives, and sometimes thrives. This is the deep wisdom of biology. Everything that lives is part of a single, unbroken lineage stretching back nearly 4 billion years. Inside each of us, coiled within every cell, lies a script, not written by hands, but by nature itself, DNA. For simple letters A, T, C, G, repeating in nearly infinite combinations. This molecule is memory. It records survival, failure, adaptation. It remembers the oceans where life began and the forests where it learned to breathe. DNA is not just chemical, it is legacy. A letter passed down through deep time, telling every cell what to do and whispering to us where we came from. Life as we know it is astonishingly strange. It builds order out of entropy. It constructs meaning from chaos. It learns. It dreams. And yet it is also fragile. Most species that ever lived are now extinct. Nature is not sentimental. It is fierce, adaptive, and ever-shifting. But in that harshness lies beauty. Life does not give up easily. Even in the deepest ocean vents and the driest deserts, it finds a way. It insists on being. Then came something new, awareness. At some point, life looked around and noticed. The brain, a structure evolved for survival, became a cathedral of thought. Emotions, memories, language, all arose not through magic, but through natural selection. And yet, their impact is profound. Consciousness gave life the ability to reflect, to imagine other worlds, and eventually to ask, why? With this, the universe became self-aware. Through us, matter began to wonder about its own existence. Despite our intellect, we are not the pinnacle. We are a part of the whole. A recent note in the fugue, and we are not alone. The biosphere is filled with countless other voices, some loud, some subtle. From the song of whales to the dance of bees, life is constantly communicating, evolving, creating. We are but one voice in the great cosmic choir. Our uniqueness lies not in our dominance, but in our potential to understand and to care. The story of life is still being written. We are not its author, but we may be its steward. In every choice we make in science, in ethics, in compassion, we determine the next verse of the fugue. Let us not forget, to be alive, here and now, is rare beyond measure. So sing your part in the cosmic symphony with clarity, with wonder, and with care. For most of human history, the sky was a riddle. Planets wandered, stars stood still, eclipses terrified, and comets warned of doom. But through fear and fascination, we looked upward, not just to survive, but to understand. This is about a moment in history when we began to see the sky not as chaos, but as harmony, a hidden music behind the movement of the heavens. Long before telescopes, humans built monuments to the stars. Stonehenge, Chichen Itza, Nabta Playa, these were not temples of worship, but instruments of time. The ancients observed the heavens with precision and patience, aligning their lives with celestial rhythms. Their survival depended on it planting, harvesting, migrating, all tied to the movements above. In their observations, they sensed a pattern, a pulse, a cosmic order. But with awe came arrogance. The ancients placed Earth at the center of the universe, assuming that the heavens revolved around us. It was an understandable mistake. The stars rise and set, the sun arcs across the sky, feels as if everything moves around the observer. And so for centuries our maps of the cosmos reflected not the truth, but the illusion of human importance. Then came Copernicus, a quiet revolution, Polish astronomer who dared to suggest that Earth was not the center, but merely a planet among others orbiting the sun. It was not just a shift in astronomy. It was a blow to the ego of civilization, and yet it made the heavens make sense. Retrograde motions, planetary paths, solar eclipses all became understandable once we stepped out of the center and looked at the cosmos as it is, not as we wished it to be. Johannes Kepler took Copernicus's model and refined it with elegance. Planets, he discovered, do not move in perfect circles, but in ellipses sweeping out equal areas in equal times. To Kepler, this wasn't just mathematics, it was music. He believed the planets sang, each orbit a note in a celestial symphony. He called it the music of the spheres. And though we now know these sounds are metaphor, the idea remains poetic. The universe is not noise, it is rhythm. Then came Galileo, who aimed a telescope to the sky and shattered what remained of old beliefs. He saw mountains on the moon, moons orbiting Jupiter, phases of Venus. The heavens were not perfect and immutable, they were worlds like ours. The implication was radical. Earth was not unique. We were part of a broader family of planets. The cosmos was not built for us, but it welcomed our curiosity. What these pioneers gave us was not just data, it was a new way of thinking. Observation, hypothesis, experiment, and humility before nature. The scientific method became the vessel with which we could navigate the cosmic sea. And through it, we began to find harmony not just in music or myth, but in mathematics, gravity, motion, and light. The universe, once chaotic, now sang in equations. In the harmony of worlds, we found our disillusionment and our freedom. To be decentered is not to be diminished. It is to be placed, finally, in a universe vast enough to inspire awe, yet knowable enough to invite love. Let us keep listening for the music, because somewhere in that cosmic rhythm is the sound of who we might become. Venus was once called Earth's twin. It's roughly the same size, similar in composition, cloaked in clouds that shimmered like pearl. For centuries, we imagined a paradise beneath its mist-lush jungles, alien oceans, perhaps even life. But when we finally reached through the fog, what we found was not heaven but a warning, a world that burned, a mirror we dared not look into. The mystery of Venus tempted astronomers for generations. Its brilliant glow dominated the twilight sky, rising and setting like a celestial companion. But its surface was hidden, obscured by thick clouds that reflected sunlight with blinding intensity. For centuries, that veil sparked dreams. If Earth was alive and temperate, perhaps Venus was too. Maybe it was a cradle of strange ecosystems, just waiting to be discovered. But when our probes finally penetrated its atmosphere, paradise vanished. The surface of Venus revealed a nightmare. Temperatures hot enough to melt lead, pressures that would crush a submarine, and clouds filled with sulfuric acid. This was not a world of life, but of death. The sky was thick with carbon dioxide, a runaway greenhouse effect gone unchecked. Venus, once Earth's sister, had become her infernal twin. Carl Sagan was among the first to understand what Venus was telling us. The intense heat was no mystery of volcanism or magic, it was physics. A thick atmosphere traps heat like a blanket. The more carbon dioxide, the thicker the blanket, the less it is chilling. Climate is not permanent. It can spiral. It can tip. It can transform paradise into hell with terrifying speed. Venus is not science fiction. It is a laboratory of consequence. Here on Earth, we live in a delicate equilibrium. Thin atmosphere regulates temperature, recycles water, shields us from radiation. But we have begun to alter this balance. By burning ancient carbon buried deep in the planet's crust, we release it into the sky. Slowly, invisibly, we thicken the blanket. And like Venus, we risk awakening forces far beyond our control. Not tomorrow, not in some distant century, but soon unless we act. What makes Venus so terrifying is not just its heat, but its silence. No rivers, no forests, no wind that carries birdsong, just a dead, seared world. We have the gift of foresight. Venus cannot speak, but it shows. Through its fire, it tells us a story of what happens when a planet is pushed too far. If we have the courage to look, to really look, then maybe we can still change our path. Yet there's hope. Because unlike Venus, we have tools. We have satellites to observe, models to predict, and minds to imagine solutions. We have a voice, and with it, the power to choose a different future. Science is not just knowledge, it is memory of mistakes, and the wisdom to avoid repeating them. Venus shows us the abyss, but Earth still offers a chance to pull back from the edge. Heaven and hell are not only places, they are outcomes. And the line between them is not drawn by fate, but by us. Let Venus be more than a warning. Let it be a turning point. Because the clouds that hide a planet's truth can be cleared if we dare to look through them. Mars has always felt familiar. A cold, distant world, but strangely close to our imagination. We gave it names. We wrote myths. We saw channels and thought of civilizations. We projected our loneliness into its rusty silence. But when we finally arrived, the romance met reality. And yet, even in that barren dust, something extraordinary remained. The possibility of life not as it is, but as it was, or might be again. To the ancients, Mars was the god of war, a red eye glaring from the night sky. To modern minds, it became something softer, a neighbor. Unlike Venus, Mars seemed reachable. Its seasons echoed our own. Its day was almost the same length, and its surface, even from afar, showed structure polar caps, valleys, canyons. For decades, we dreamed of finding life there. Not just because we wanted company, but because we longed for meaning in the universe. In the late 19th century, an astronomer named Percival Lowell believed he saw canal straight lines etched across the surface. He imagined engineers, aqueducts, and dying Martian cities fighting to survive. It was beautiful fiction. But it was also a mirror, not of Mars, but of Earth. Lowell projected his own world's struggles onto another. The real Mars is colder, emptier, harsher. But the myth, like all myths, pointed to a deeper truth. Our need to believe we are not alone. When robotic emissaries finally arrived, Mariner, Viking, they found a world more silent than we expected. No canals, no cities, just rocks, dust, and windswept plains. But this disappointment was only partial. Mars was not lifeless, it was ancient. Dried riverbeds carved by water, long gone. Chemical hints of activity beneath the soil, perhaps even frozen reservoirs of potential. The planet was not a desert, it was a fossil, and fossils have stories. Carl Sagan saw Mars not just as a planet, but as a memory, a world that might have once been like Earth, with a thicker atmosphere, with lakes, clouds, and rain. If life began there and perished, then Mars becomes a ghost, a warning of planetary fragility. But if life still lingers, buried beneath the soil, then Mars becomes a promise that life is not unique to Earth, and that biology may be woven into the fabric of the universe. Now we dream not of discovering Martians, but of becoming them, terraforming colonies, greenhouses under glass. Elon Musk speaks of making humanity multiplanetary, and others follow. But such dreams carry weight. The ethics of remaking a world, the burden of survival in an alien environment. The risks of repeating our mistakes. Mars offers possibility, yes, but not without responsibility. To touch another world is to carry not just our technology, but our history. Even now, with rovers crawling its surface and satellites mapping its scars, Mars feels distant. It's not just in space, but in tone. It is a melancholy world. A ballad in red. It speaks of time, of loss, of silence. And yet, in that silence, we hear an invitation. A question. What will you do with your world before you reach for another? Mars waits, but it does not answer. It simply is. And that is enough to make us listen. Blues for a Red Planet. A song of hope, grief, and imagination. We've not yet found life there, but we've found meaning. And maybe that's what exploration is for, not to conquer, but to remember what's worth protecting. Because every step we take away from Earth should remind us why we must never forget it. To journey into space is to step into myth. It's not the myth of dragons or magic, but the myth of real courage. Of voyagers who dared to leave behind everything familiar and sail into a silence without end. Some carried hopes, others carried data. All carried a message that curiosity is stronger than fear, and that the human story was never meant to stay in one place. Once explorers crossed oceans with only stars to guide them, now we launch vessels into the darkness, guided by gravity and intention. The names are different: Magellan, Galileo, Voyager, but the dream is the same: to know what lies beyond. Every probe, every mission is a new chapter in the story of exploration. We're not the first travelers, but we are the first to leave Earth and not look back. Our first true ambassadors were machines: Mariner, Pioneer, Voyager, silent emissaries built with care, launched with hope. They did not breathe, but they carried the breath of our minds. Equipped with cameras, sensors, and golden records, they ventured further than any living being. They passed planets, captured images of strange new worlds, and continued into the deep black. They became more than instruments. They became storytellers. One of the most poetic objects ever created by humankind is the Voyager golden recorder phonograph of images, greetings, music, and sounds of Earth, sealed in metal and cast into space. It was not designed to be practical. It was not a blueprint for survival. It was a gesture of hope, a declaration that we were here and we wanted to be known. Carl Sagan called it a bottle, cast into the cosmic ocean. Perhaps no one will ever find it. Perhaps someone will. But the beauty lies in the sending. Before Voyager left the solar system, Sagan asked that it turn its camera backward one last time. What it saw was humbling. Earth, a tiny mote of light suspended in a sunbeam. No borders, no nations. Just one fragile world. That single image, known as the pale blue dot, became a reminder of both our insignificance and our unity. It whispered, "This is home. This is everything you've ever known. Treat it well." Though machines led the way, humans followed. From Yuri Gagarin's brief orbit to Neil Armstrong's first step on the moon, we proved that flesh and blood could survive beyond Earth. But it was never just about footprints or flags. It was about perspective. The moon did not give us power. It gave us humility. Standing on another world, we finally saw our own for what it is: singular, vulnerable, irreplaceable. Why do we go? Not for conquest, not for escape, but because we are woven from questions. The drive to explore is ancient. It lives in our DNA, encoded in the same molecules that once wandered from Africa to every corner of this planet. Now, we look up. Not because we are lost, but because we are home, and we want to understand it. Every journey outward is a journey inward. These are the tales of travelers, not a fantasy, but a fact. Of tiny machines drifting past Neptune, of humans orbiting Earth in solitude, of cameras turning back to glimpse our origin. And if you listen carefully, these tales are not just history, they are invitations to wonder, to reach, to remember that we are, all of us, voyagers. There was a time when the night sky was our greatest teacher. Before cities drowned the stars, before screens dimmed our wonder, we looked upward with naked eyes and open minds. The Milky Way stretched across the heavens like a river of fire, a celestial spine. The ancients called it the backbone of night. And from its shimmering trail, we began to ask the oldest and most powerful question of all. What is all this? In every culture, stars became stories. Hunters, gods, serpents, lovers mapped across the sky in constellations. The heavens were not empty, they were alive with meaning. But those stories were more than entertainment. They were tools for survival, memory, and timekeeping. The night sky was a calendar, a compass, a sacred text. For early humans, to read the stars was to stay alive. But eventually, someone looked past the myths and wondered, what are stars, really? That question, simple yet dangerous, was the birth cry of science. In ancient Greece, thinkers like Anaximander and Democritus dared to suggest that stars were not spirits or fires on a dome, but distant suns perhaps, with worlds of their own. Their ideas were bold, ridiculed, even forgotten for centuries. But they had ignited something irreversible, the freedom to question the sacred. Democritus imagined a universe made of tiny, indivisible particles, atoms. He believed everything matter, mind, even the soul, was built from these eternal bits, moving through an infinite void. No gods, no magic, just order emerging from chaos. It was a vision centuries ahead of its time, and though rejected by many, it planted a seed. Today, our most powerful technologies are built on this ancient atomic dream. These early thinkers paid a price. Questioning tradition was dangerous. Socrates was executed. Hypatia was murdered. Galileo much later would be silenced. The path from myth to knowledge is never straight. It is a struggle between curiosity and control. But each time the stars were questioned, the light grew brighter. Truth, like the cosmos, expands despite resistance. It took millennia for those ancient ideas to be reborn. When the Renaissance came, thinkers like Copernicus, Kepler, and Newton reignited the questions the Greeks had dared to ask. This time with tools, telescopes, mathematics, and experiments. The night sky was no longer just story. It became structure. Law, harmony. We learned that we are part of a galaxy, a vast swarm of stars orbiting a common center. The backbone of night became a spiral of suns. Today, the stars still shine with meaning, but that meaning has deepened. We know what they are: nuclear furnaces burning across the void. We know how they live, how they die, how their remnants became us. But we also remember the stories, the myths, the long human longing to belong. Science does not strip the sky of wonder, it restores it with clarity and compassion. The night belongs not to one culture, but to all of us. The backbone of night holds more than stars, it holds our origin. It is the thread that connects ancestors who told stories around fire, to astronomers who gaze through lenses, to children who still look up and dream. And if we listen closely, the stars still whisper the same invitation they gave to the first dreamers. Look deeper, ask more, do not be afraid of the dark. We are bound by time, yet we dream of escaping it. We grow older, seasons pass, stars drift. But what if time isn't a relentless river pulling us forward, but a landscape, like space, that we can explore? This is a journey into the strange, beautiful reality that space and time are woven together, and that to travel far in space is to travel deeply in time. The fastest thing in the universe is light. At nearly 300,000 kilometers per second, it sets the cosmic speed limit. No matter how powerful the rocket, how advanced the propulsion, nothing not even thought can move faster. But Einstein revealed something more profound. As you approach the speed of light, time itself begins to bend. Seconds stretch, distances compress. The faster you move, the slower you age. In this strange new physics, movement through space becomes movement through time. Einstein's theory of relativity shattered classical certainty. Space and time were no longer separate. They were part of a single entity, space-time. A fabric, stretched and curved by gravity. Massive objects like stars and planets warp this fabric, creating what we perceive as gravity, but they also alter time itself. On Earth, time ticks differently on a mountain peak than at sea level. In orbit, astronauts age more slowly. These are not paradoxes, they are measurements. Time is not absolute. It is local, elastic, alive. In a sense, we are already time travelers. Every second moves us forward in time, and with each journey to space, we inch closer to real temporal shifts. A spaceship traveling near light speed would allow its crew to experience mere months while years pass on Earth. This is not science fiction, it's physics. The future, it turns out, is more accessible than we thought. The past, however, remains elusive. Time appears to flow only one way forward, at least for now. But we do look into the past every time we look up. The light from the sun takes 8 minutes to reach Earth. From Alpha Centauri, over 4 years. From distant galaxies, millions or even billions of years. Telescopes are time machines. When we observe the cosmos, we see it not as it is, but as it was. The universe reveals itself in reverse, an ancient archive written in photons. We are voyagers in time simply by seeing. Sagan invited us to board the ship of the imagination, a metaphorical vessel, capable of traversing vast cosmic distances and eras. It represents what sets us apart, the ability to imagine beyond our constraints. Through science, we extend our senses. Through stories, we extend our spirit. Together, they let us glimpse what lies beyond the horizon of our limitations. In the theater of the mind, space and time become navigable. Traveling through space and time isn't just a scientific endeavor, it's a human one. The farther we look, the more we understand where we came from and where we might be going. We see the birth of stars, the deaths of galaxies, the delicate balance that allows life to flourish. And in understanding that cosmic timeline, we place ourselves within it not as passive passengers, but as participants with agency. Time gives us context, but it also gives us urgency. We cannot yet build ships that outrun time. But we have something just as powerful, the ability to see through it, to think beyond it, to imagine a future worth traveling toward. So let us keep voyaging not just through the cold silence of space, but through the endless questions of time. Because in every journey forward, we touch eternity. They seem eternal silent, still twinkling in the sky. But stars are not immortal. They are born, they burn, and they die. Like living things, stars have lifespans, personalities, and fates. Their story is not told in days or years, but in millions, even billions of revolutions around the galactic center. From their lives come ours. Stars begin in darkness. In vast, cold clouds of gas and dust nurseries called nebula, gravity slowly pulls matter together. Denser and denser, tighter and hotter, until fusion ignites. A star is born when hydrogen atoms begin to fuse into helium, releasing light and heat. In that moment, a balance emerges. Gravity pulling inward, radiation pushing outward. This fragile equilibrium is the heartbeat of a star. For most of its life, it will shine steadily, an engine of light in the void. Most stars, including our sun, spend the majority of their lives in a phase called the main sequence. Here, they convert hydrogen into helium at their cores, radiating energy steadily. The size and mass of a star determine how it lives and how it will die. Small stars burn slowly, living for tens of billions of years. Massive stars burn furiously, living fast and dying young. But no star lasts forever. Fuel runs out, balance is broken, and death begins. When a star exhausts its hydrogen, it begins to change. For sun-like stars, the core contracts while the outer layers expand. The star becomes a red giant, swollen, cooler, but brighter. Eventually, it sheds its outer shells, forming a glowing cloud of gas, a planetary nebula. What remains is a white dwarf, small, dense, and slowly cooling, a ghost of a star that once gave warmth to worlds. But for massive stars, the end is far more violent. When fusion can no longer sustain them, their cores collapse in an instant, triggering a cataclysmic supernova. For a brief moment, one star can outshine an entire galaxy. In that crucible of destruction, elements heavier than iron gold, uranium, iodine, are forged. The explosion scatters these materials across space. Every atom in your body heavier than hydrogen was born in such an event. You are made of star death. You are the residue of stellar fire. From a supernova's ashes can emerge the strangest objects in the universe. A neutron star, city-sized object with the mass of a star, spinning and pulsing with radio waves. Or a black hole so dense, not even light can escape its gravity. These are not just remnants, they are reminders. The universe is not only vast, it is extreme, violent, mysterious, and yet, from such chaos, complexity is born. When we look at the stars, we are not seeing strangers, we are seeing ancestors. Every cell in your body contains calcium from ancient stars. Your blood carries iron from long-dead suns. You are not beneath the stars, you are of them. The story of stellar life is not separate from our own. It is our origin story, written not in myth, but in matter. Carl Sagan said it best. We are star stuff, contemplating the stars. Stars die, but their death is not an end. It is a beginning. In every collapsing core, in every nebula of debris, there is the seed of new worlds, new life, new thought. So when you look up at the night sky, remember, you are looking into a past that made your present possible, and perhaps into a future that waits for you to burn bright before fading into light. Where does the universe end? And if there is an end, what lies beyond it? These are questions children ask and physicists fear. For in seeking the edge of the cosmos, we confront the edge of understanding. Yet this is where wonder begins, not in what we know, but in what we can dare to ask. In the 20th century, we discovered that the universe is not static, it is expanding. Galaxies are racing away from each other, not because they are moving through space, but because space itself is stretching. Like dots on an inflating balloon, the further away a galaxy is, the faster it recedes. This led to a radical realization. If the universe is expanding now, then it must have been smaller in the past. It's much smaller, perhaps infinitely small. The galaxies, the atoms in your hand, all trace their origin to that first fire. The afterglow of creation still lingers. It's called the cosmic microwave background, a faint hum of radiation detected in every direction. It is the baby picture of the universe, taken when it was only 380,000 years old. In this gentle hiss, we hear the echoes of Genesis. We now map it with exquisite precision. If it continues, distant stars will vanish from view. Galaxies will go dark, and the night sky will grow empty. In the far future, the universe could become cold, silent, and still a heat death where nothing more can happen. Or perhaps not. Perhaps the universe will one day reverse contracting back in a big crunch. Or maybe new universes are constantly budding off from our own, like quantum seeds in an eternal cosmic tree. Some theories speak of a multiverse, where every possibility plays out somewhere. Others suggest our universe is just one bubble among infinite others, colliding and separating in dimensions we cannot see. These ideas are bold, speculative, but they remind us. The edge of forever is not a wall. It is a horizon. Carl Sagan often said that cosmology is a form of spiritual quest. It's not in the religious sense, but in the deepest human sense. To ask where we came from and where we're going is to touch something sacred in us. It connects us not just to the stars, but to each other. Every culture has a creation myth. Science gives us not myth, but method. And through it, we now know. The universe had a beginning, and it will have an end. But in between, there is this thinking, asking, reaching. The edge of forever is not a place, it's a question. A question written in galaxies, whispered by radiation, reflected in every human eye that looks upward. And in asking it, we take our place not outside the cosmos, but within its unfolding story. For even if we are only a moment in eternity, we are a moment that wonders. What is memory if not survival across time? A way for the past to speak to the present, for experiences to outlive moments, and for life to learn from what came before. In this chapter, we explore memory not just in minds, but in molecules, machines, and the cosmos itself. The story of evolution is the story of memory, encoded, passed on, and evolving. Every cell in your body carries a record, not of your life, but of life itself. DNA is a memory molecules, spirals of chemical code recording the trials and triumphs of 4 billion years of evolution. It doesn't think, it doesn't plan. It remembers through mutation, replication, and selection. From the earliest microbe to every human being alive today, the information for life has persisted through an unbroken chain. You are not just made of atoms. You are made of instructions. But humans carry another kind of memory, one far more fluid. The brain stores not only instincts, but stories. Every face, every voice, every lesson is encoded in complex networks of neurons firing in rhythm. This memory is electrical, chemical, and dynamic. It lets us adapt not over generations, but in real time. We learn from experience. We imagine futures. We simulate outcomes before we act. Conscious memory transforms biology into culture. Then came language, or ability to share memory outside the body. Words became vessels. Knowledge passed from one generation to the next, no longer locked in genes or brains alone. Stories, myths, warnings, discoveries, all became part of a shared memory. Oral traditions evolved into writing, stone tablets into books, and now entire libraries into digital clouds. Civilization itself is a memory structure, fragile, growing, and astonishingly powerful. Today, machines remember for us. Hard drives, cloud servers, silicon chips. They store more information than any one brain can hold. These are extensions of our own minds, built to hold data across time and space. Yet with this power comes risk. What we choose to store and what we forget shapes our future. Memory is not just what we keep, but what we prioritize. In an age of information overload, forgetting may be as dangerous as remembering. But memory is not exclusive to humans. Bees remember roots. Octopuses solve puzzles. Trees respond to injury with patterns that suggest adaptation. Ecosystems remember in their rhythms. Migration paths, seasonal changes, ecological balance. The universe, in its own way, remembers too through gravity, entropy, and the laws of physics. The past is not lost. It is imprinted on everything around us. Who are you if not your memories? Your name, your pain, your joy, your dreams, all reside in the delicate circuits of a 3-pound organ. And yet memory is fallible. We forget, we distort, we rewrite. But the persistence of memory through language, through culture, through legacies, what allows us to be more than individuals. It lets us build, it lets us teach, it lets us dream of futures where memory endures longer than flesh. The persistence of memory is the persistence of meaning. We remember so we may not repeat. We remember so we may transcend. So let us be careful what we store and generous in what we pass on. Because memory, in the end, is the only thing time cannot take. We choose to preserve it. Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. That's not a slogan, it's a belief. A hope that among the hundreds of billions of stars, at least one other world holds intelligence, technology, and perhaps wonder. In this chapter, we reach beyond Earth, not with rockets, but with radio waves. We listen for voices across the cosmic ocean, and we ask, if someone out there is listening to, what are they hearing from us? The numbers are staggering. Hundreds of billions of galaxies, each with billions of stars. Many of those stars now known to host planets, some Earth-like, some in the so-called habitable zone. The odds, mathematically, seem generous. Life arose on Earth quickly, within a few 100 million years. If the same is true elsewhere, then life may not be rare. It may be inevitable, but intelligent life, that's another matter entirely. Despite the overwhelming scale of the universe, we have found no signal, no message, no evidence. The sky is quiet. This silence is known as the Fermi paradox. Where is everybody? Perhaps intelligent civilizations destroy themselves before they can reach out. Or maybe they're listening, just like us, afraid to speak first. Or perhaps we are early, or too late, or looking the wrong way, using the wrong tools. In a universe this vast, silence is not proof of absence, but it is haunting. Projects like SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, have scanned the skies for decades. Tuning into radio frequencies from distant stars, no signal yet, but the search continues. It's not just science, it's a gesture of humility. A recognition that the universe does not revolve around us, and that reaching out is part of becoming cosmic citizens. We send messages, we build beacons, we wait. In 1977, Carl Sagan and his team created one of humanity's most hopeful artifacts, the Voyager Golden Record. A 12-inch gold-plated disc launched aboard the Voyager probes, now drifting beyond the solar system. It carries music, greetings in 55 languages, sounds of Earth laughter, thunder, heartbeats, and images encoded in analog. It is a message in a bottle, cast into the interstellar sea, not because we expect a reply, but because it is beautiful to send. If someone were to receive that message, what would they learn? That we love and we fight, that we build cities and dream of stars, that we understand atoms, but not always each other. It's a snapshot, not of perfection, but of potential. The Encyclopedia Galactica, if it exists, would list civilizations like ours. Some long gone, some rising, some watching. And in that great cosmic library, perhaps Earth will have its page written in starlight and static. But what if we're not alone? And they reply. Some argue for caution. After all, not every intelligence is likely to be benevolent. And yet, to remain silent forever may be the greater tragedy. We must weigh the risks of contact against the cost of cosmic loneliness. For to be forever unheard is to be forever unknown. And perhaps unremembered. The universe is vast, silent, patient. But in that silence we listen not just for them, but for ourselves. Because in searching for others we clarify who we are. We send out signals not just to be found, but to say, we existed, we reached, we dared to wonder, and maybe, just maybe, someone will answer. The Earth is a world of miracles, wrapped in silence. We launch satellites, we land on moons, we peer across billions of light years. But the most important question is not out there, it's right here. Who speaks for Earth? Not just who leads it, but who loves it, who defends it, who sees it for what it truly is, rare, fragile, and alone. We live in the first era where a species can destroy its own planet. Nuclear weapons, climate collapse, ecological devastation, all tools forged by knowledge, yet wielded without wisdom. Carl Sagan warned of this, not as a distant possibility, but a present danger. He saw that our scientific power had grown faster than our moral clarity, and if we are not careful, we may become the briefest chapter in the book of life. From a distance of 6 billion kilometers, Voyager 1 turned its camera homeward and captured a single pixel, Earth suspended in a sunbeam. Sagan called it the pale blue dot. On that pixel, everyone you've ever known, every culture, every war, every joy. That image stripped away our delusions of grandeur. It reminded us that nationalism, conflict, greed, they are illusions when seen from the edge of the solar system. There is no them on that dot, only us. We cannot afford to divide ourselves by race, nation, or ideology when the planet itself is in peril. Our survival depends not on competition, but cooperation. On seeing ourselves not as separate tribes, but as one species, sharing one world floating in the dark. The Earth has no backup, no escape hatch, no second chance. If we ruin it, the stars will not mourn us. They will simply continue to burn. Cosmos is not just a science series. It is a love letter to truth, to beauty, to the courage of asking who we are. It reminds us that science is not cold, it's compassionate. Connects us across time, space, and species. Through understanding, we gain empathy, and through empathy, perhaps, survival. The more we know, the deeper our responsibility becomes. To speak for Earth is not a political act. It is a moral one. It means protecting the atmosphere as if it were your breath. It means guarding the oceans as if they were your bloodstream. It means choosing future generations over short-term profit. And it means recognizing that intelligence is not measured by what we build, but by what we choose not to destroy. There is still time, still beauty, still love. The same species that invented war also wrote symphonies. The same mind that split the atom also dreamed of peace. We have sent probes to the stars, and we must learn to live with each other. The cosmos will go on with or without us. But we, fragile and improbable, have the chance to stay in the story. To endure, to matter. Who speaks for Earth? Let it be those who cherish wonder, those who protect life, or those who look at a fragile blue world and choose to love it harder. Because in the vast silence of space, Earth is not just a home. It is a message, a rare and precious voice. Let us make it worth hearing. We began this journey on the shores of a cosmic ocean, small, curious, fragile. Along the way, we saw stars born and die. We traveled through time. We listened for voices beyond the sky, and we remembered. that the universe is not something outside of us. It is within us, written in our bones and breathed in every question we dare to ask, Carl Sagan once said. For small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love. We are not alone, not in space, not in time, not in the longing to understand. And if we are to survive, if we are to matter, then we must choose to cherish this world, to protect its beauty, to speak not just for ourselves, but for Earth. We are star stuff. We are the cosmos. Becoming aware of itself? If this journey stirred something in you, subscribe. Join us as we continue asking the biggest questions and telling stories that remind us just how rare and precious this moment really is.